Hello, today we have some great tips for you for the month of August. Now the hot topic of course right now is watering in the landscape and in your gardens. It's a real challenge. We're continuing with the extreme heat and hot weather and dry conditions. And so let's talk a little bit about watering. It is a real challenge, and I know that some of the cities are even under water restrictions right now. So when you do have the opportunity to water, we do encourage you to water deeply. We want to wet the soil about at least 6 inches deep to encourage deep root growth. That helps the plants tolerate this heat a lot better. So when you water deeply and then less frequently. Frequent shallow watering is what really hurts our plants. It really doesn't help them a whole lot because this heat is just too much for them. Now some other things that work really well. Now if you're dragging a hose around, a sprinkler on the end of a hose around the landscape trying to keep your plants alive, that's really tough. It's a real challenge. In-ground irrigation systems are very helpful, but you still have to manage them and make sure that when you're watering long enough to get the water down deep and then not water it again until it's necessary. Another good method is the drip irrigation system, and we have some drip irrigation systems here throughout this vegetable garden. You can use this in your landscape as well, in flower beds and shrub beds and places like that. Now if we look down here, we can see this brown tubing down here, and this is one of the systems that's available. And basically there are little holes that are punched into the tubing along all the way up and down, and this allows water to just slowly drip down into the ground, and it puts water directly at the root system. You're not losing a lot of water through evaporation. You can soak the ground really well, and plants really respond well to it. You can look around and see plantings that are doing really well, and a lot of times they are on drip irrigation systems. Now another thing I'm going to show you over here is something that you can do if you have some really sensitive plants or a small grouping of plants that are really stressed because of the hot sun, and that's put a little bit of a covering over the top of them. Here we've just put together a really simple little shading system using some burlap and some bamboo poles, and this provides enough shade during the day against the hot sun to help the plants a little bit so they're not transpiring and so heat stressed. You can also see that we have some drip irrigation systems in here as well to help keep this ground well watered. Now in other areas of the landscape, again, watering is still an issue. If you have compost pile, you need to be watering that as well to help keep that decomposition process going. And don't forget to turn it so it gets nice and hot in the middle to help provide that sanitation and kill those organisms down in that pile. Now August is also a good time to start your fall vegetable garden if you're interested in trying to have some produce later on this year. You can replant things such as cucumbers, bush beans, summer squash, and you can also plant your cool season crops such as carrots, lettuce, beets, etc. If you have spring flowering perennials such as peonies, irises, and daylilies that might need to be replanted and divided, now would be a good time to continue to do that. And if you're dedicating your roses, we usually want to stop doing that about middle of August to help them to acclimate and get ready for the winter months. For turf areas, one way to prevent the winter annual grassy weeds like annual bluegrass is to put down a pre-emergence herbicide in late August. Of course, you want to make sure you water any of those products in really well. Now tall fescue areas should be mowed at 3 inches and maybe even 3.5 inches in heavier shady areas. If you want to convert an area over to tall fescue, it's not something we highly recommend because tall fescue does require a large amount of irrigation to keep it alive during the summer months. But if you're interested in converting it over, early August is a good time to start spraying your Bermuda grass areas with a product containing glyphosate. Now August is also the next time that you would apply a fertilizer to well-irrigated lawns. But be sure you don't apply fertilizer to water-stressed lawns. You want to make sure that you've irrigated them well before application and then water them well after you have applied the fertilizer so that you don't cause any problems. Now white grub can also be a problem that shows up in August. If you see large brown patches in the lawn, it could be of course water stress, but you might also want to look for white grubs in the ground. And if you do find white grubs, that's the best, middle to late August is the best time to apply an insecticide to control those. Now brown patch can also continue to be a problem on cool season grasses, And that can also be easily controlled with a fungicide.